I destroyed my daughter's wedding 3 days before, until I discovered her fiancé was my biological son. 3 in the morning. My fingers tremble over the laptop keyboard. The bluish glow of the screen illuminates my tear-streaked face. I've just sent the email that will destroy everything. The subject line reads only, "The wedding cannot happen." Inside, an attachment with DNA test results. Compatibility, 99.97%. I am the biological mother of my daughter's fiancé, Ethan Scott, the man Sophia has loved for 4 years. The young man who in 3 days would officially become part of our family is my son. The son I gave up for adoption 30 years ago. The son born from a night I've spent 3 decades trying to forget. I click send to the guest list, to his family, to her family, to the minister, to everyone. The wedding is canceled, and I am the one responsible. Yes, I destroyed my own daughter's wedding 3 days before the ceremony. The dress was bought, the catering paid for, the honeymoon confirmed. 200 guests had been notified. The flowers were ordered. The rings were engraved. Everything was ready, and I just dropped a nuclear bomb on all of it. Sophia hates me now. She called me a monster, a lunatic, jealous. She screamed that I never accepted her happiness, that I was always controlling, that this time I had gone too far. Robert, my husband of 29 years, looked at me as if he didn't know me. The Scott family has filed a lawsuit against me for slander, emotional distress, and breach of contract. My name has become a headline in the local papers. Renowned attorney sabotages daughter's wedding with absurd accusations. Absurd. They think it's a lie, that I invented this to stop the wedding. No one believes me, not even my own daughter. But how could I let it happen? How could I stay silent and watch my daughter unknowingly commit incest? How could I let her marry her own brother? Because that's what Ethan is. He is her brother, her half-brother biologically. Neither of them knows. No one ever knew. This secret was buried 3 decades ago, sealed in confidential court documents, locked away in a dark part of my soul I swore never to open, until 21 days ago, when it all came to light in the cruelest way possible. An estate case, a pile of old papers, a name, a date, a hospital, and my entire world collapsed for the second time in my life. For you to understand why I've come to this, why I made the most painful decision of my existence, why I chose to be seen as the villain, rather than let a tragedy unfold, I need to tell you everything from the beginning. I need to take you back 21 days to when I was just the proud mother preparing for her daughter's wedding. But I also need to take you back even further. I need to tell you about a December night in 1994, about a 17-year-old girl, about an act of violence that changed the course of an entire life, about a baby who was born and given away for adoption before I could even see his face, about 30 years of silence, of buried guilt, of pain buried so deep I thought it would never resurface. I know what you're thinking. How could a mother do this? How could a woman destroy her own daughter's happiest day? What kind of person ruins a wedding 3 days before the ceremony, publicly humiliates her daughter, and exposes family secrets that should have remained buried? You're judging me right now. You're calling me selfish, cruel, manipulative, just like everyone else is, just like my daughter is, just like my husband is. But you don't know the whole truth yet. You don't know what I discovered in that estate file. You don't know the extent of the conspiracy that kept this secret hidden. You don't know that the Scott family knew who I was all along, and they chose silence. This is my story, the version no one wanted to hear, the truth everyone preferred to ignore. And when you reach the end, when you know every detail, every devastating discovery, every moment I tried to do things differently and was stopped, you will understand. Maybe you won't agree. Maybe you'll still think I'm a villain, but you will understand why there was no other way. Why silence would have been even crueler. Why sometimes destroying everything is the only possible act of love. Subscribe to the channel now and hit the bell. Every week there's a new story that no one else had the courage to tell. You won't want to miss it. 21 days before it all fell apart, I was a different person, or at least I appeared to be. Catherine Hayes, 58, founding partner of Hayes & Associates, specializing in family law for over 3 decades. My name was a benchmark when it came to adoption, custody, and paternity cases. Ironic, isn't it? The woman who built a career helping families form legally was the one carrying the darkest secret about her own family's origins. On weekday mornings, I'd wake at 6, make coffee for Robert and myself, and review case files while we had breakfast together. A ritual we'd maintained for nearly 3 decades. He'd talk about his construction projects, and I'd discuss the most complex cases at the firm. Everything felt so normal, so secure. I would put on my well-tailored suits, choose a matching handbag, and pull my hair back into a flawless bun. In the mirror, I saw a mature, successful, respected woman, a woman who had everything under control. At the office, I was addressed with reverence. Young lawyers sought my guidance. Judges greeted me in the courthouse hallways. I had just received an award from the State Bar Association for my contributions to family law. In the photo from the ceremony, I'm smiling next to Robert and Sophia. My daughter is hugging me proudly. My mother, my inspiration, she wrote in the Instagram caption. 340 likes, dozens of glowing comments. What a beautiful family. Inspiring woman. An example of a mother and a professional. If only they knew. I was seen as a present mother, despite my demanding career. I never missed one of Sophia's ballet recitals when she was little. I was at every graduation, every birthday party, every important doctor's appointment. I compensated for the hours at the office with quality time. Or at least that's what I told myself on the nights when the guilt crept in. The guilt of not having been a mother to that other baby, the boy I gave away without holding him, without nursing him, without naming him. But that was a pain I had learned to lock away in a mental drawer I rarely opened. Robert was my safe harbor. We met when I was 29 and he was 33. I was already a qualified lawyer, and he was a builder starting his own company. We married quickly. After 6 months of dating, Sophia was born a year later. He never asked much about my past. He knew my teenage years had been difficult, that I was estranged from my family of origin, and that I preferred not to talk about those years. He respected my silence, and I loved him for it, for not pushing, for not prodding at wounds I still didn't know how to heal. Sophia was my joy, my girl with brown eyes and an easy smile, an architecture graduate, working at a promising firm, in love, happy. She was 28, and about to marry the man she loved. Ethan Scott, 30, a civil engineer, polite, charming, respectful. The first time she brought him home for dinner 2 years ago, I liked him immediately. He pulled out the chair for Sophia, helped set the table, and complimented the food with sincerity. Robert approved on the spot. "That's a good man," he said after they left. "We're getting a fine son-in-law." Ethan became a constant presence. Sunday lunches, weekend barbecues, Christmas dinners. He called Robert Sir with genuine respect, and called me Mrs. Hayes, until I insisted he call me Catherine. He spoke of his deceased mother with tenderness. Helen had died of cancer 3 years earlier. He spoke of his father, Dr. Henry Scott, a retired physician, with admiration. "My parents gave me everything," he would often say. "A wonderful adoptive family," he once mentioned. "They never hid that I was adopted. I was always loved just the same." My heart ached when he said that. But it was a distant, generic ache. I thought of all the babies I had helped place in loving homes. I never imagined I was looking at my baby. The wedding preparations consumed the last few months. Sophia was radiant. We chose the dress together. French lace, a long train, a modest neckline. She tried on 17 dresses until she found the one. She cried when she saw herself in the mirror. I cried with her. "You look beautiful, my love," I said, holding her hands. "It's going to be the happiest day of your life." How could I have known that I would be the one to destroy that day just weeks later? The relationship between Ethan and Robert deepened. They started playing tennis together on Saturday mornings. Ethan asked for advice on investments, on construction, on life. Robert treated him like the son he never had. "This kid is different," he would say to me. "Polite, hardworking, respects our daughter. We couldn't ask for a better son-in-law." And I agreed, with all my heart, because it was true. Ethan was an excellent man, except he was my son, and I didn't know it. But there was a moment, a single moment, about 3 months before everything exploded, when something strange happened. It was at a dinner at our house. Ethan was telling a funny story from college. He laughed, throwing his head back, and for a split second I saw something, a gesture. The way he brought his hand to the back of his neck as he laughed. My father used to do that. My father, who died when I was 15, had that exact gesture. I blinked. I looked again. Ethan had already changed his position. I thought it was just my imagination. A coincidence. So many people make similar gestures, but the strange feeling lingered. That night, after everyone had gone home, I found myself looking at old photos on my phone, photos of Ethan with Sophia. I zoomed in on his face. I tried to identify what was bothering me. There was something in his eyes, in the line of his jaw. I searched for photos of my father. I compared them. Vague resemblances. The kind of similarities you see when you're looking for them. But that could just be projection. I shook my head. You're crazy, Catherine. I thought to myself. You're seeing things that aren't there. But I couldn't completely forget it. I started observing Ethan differently. Not suspiciously. Not consciously investigating. But with a new kind of attention. The way he gestured when he spoke. How he wrinkled his nose when concentrating. How he drummed his fingers on the table when he was pensive. Little mannerisms. Nothing conclusive. Nothing to justify alarm. But something in the back of my mind whispered a discomfort I couldn't name. I mentioned it to Robert one night, vaguely. Don't you think Ethan looks like someone from my family? I asked casually. He frowned. Your family? You hardly ever talk about them. Who would he look like? I backed down. No, forget it. Just a silly thought. Robert shrugged and went back to watching the news. I stared into space, trying to decipher the unease that was growing for no apparent reason. 2 weeks after that dinner, I received the call that would change everything. It was Susan Davies, a lawyer I knew superficially from the courthouse. Catherine, I need some technical help. I'm handling a complex estate case with adoption issues involved. Could you consult? Estate cases with adoption histories weren't uncommon. I agreed. It was for the Miller family. The matriarch, Helen Miller, had passed away 3 years prior. The estate was held up by documentation issues. I didn't even make the immediate connection with the surname. Miller is common. The city has thousands of Millers. I took the folder of documents. I began to review them. Certificates, deeds, old legal files, and then I saw it. An adoption file. Year, 1995. Child, male. Hospital, St. Cecilia's. Date of birth, March 23rd, 1995. My blood ran cold. That date, that hospital. I was there that day. I gave birth on that day. My fingers trembled as I held the paper. A coincidence, I thought. It has to be a coincidence. Several babies were born that day at that hospital. I turned the page. The biological mother's name on the sealed records. CHS, minor, age 17. My initials. Catherine Hayes Stone. The letters danced before my eyes. I couldn't breathe. I locked my office door. My hands were sweating. The paper trembled between my fingers. I read it again, and again, and one more time. CHS, minor, age 17, St. Cecilia's Hospital, March 23rd, 1995. Every word was a stab. The air conditioning hummed, but I felt heat rising up my neck, across my face. My mouth was dry. I tried to swallow. I couldn't. I flipped through the file with growing desperation. I looked for the adoptee's name, Ethan Henry Miller, born on March 23, 1995. Adoption finalized in August 1995. Adoptive parents, Dr. David Miller and Helen Christina Miller. No, it can't be. Ethan, the Ethan, my daughter's fiancé, my son-in-law, that polite young man who called Robert sir, the young man who played tennis with my husband on Saturdays, the man Sophia loved, who was going to marry my daughter in 8 weeks. He was my son, the baby I held for 3 seconds before the nurse took him from my arms, the baby who cried as they wheeled me out of the delivery room, the baby whose face I never really saw because they wouldn't let me. That baby was 30 years old now, and he was engaged to my daughter. My vision blurred. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I stood up too quickly, and my swivel chair hit the bookshelf behind me. Civil law books rattled. One fell to the floor with a dull thud. I went to the window. The city stretched out below, 11 floors down. Indifferent to my despair, tiny cars, tiny people, lives moving on as normal while mine imploded for the second time. I pressed my forehead against the cold glass. The contrast with my hot skin was a sensory shock that brought me back for a second. Breathe, Catherine. Breathe. It could be a mistake. It has to be a mistake. These coincidences happen. Same date, same hospital, similar initials. This is a huge city. How many babies were born that day? Dozens, maybe hundreds. How many teenage mothers gave up their children for adoption back then? Many. I can't just assume that. But deep in my chest, in the most primitive part of my being, I knew. Mothers know. Even mothers who never got to be mothers. Even mothers who gave their children away. We know. I staggered back to my desk. I sat down. I picked up my phone. My fingers could barely hold it. I looked for photos of Ethan in my camera roll. I zoomed in on his face. I studied every feature. The dark brown eyes, the straight nose, slightly upturned at the tip, the line of his jaw. I found an old photo of myself at 17, one I keep in a hidden folder on my phone. I compared them. My God. The eyes. The same intensity in the gaze. I found the photo of my father, the one I had looked at weeks ago. The jawline. The shape of his eyebrow. How had I not seen it before? How had I spent 2 years with him and not realized I was looking at my son? Because you weren't looking. An inner voice answered. Because it was impossible. Because what were the odds? 1 in a million? 1 in 10 million? For a daughter to fall in love with the biological brother she never knew existed. That doesn't happen in real life. That's the stuff of Greek tragedy, of Shakespearean theater, of soap operas. But it was happening. To me. To my family. I wiped the tears with the back of my hand. I tried to think rationally. I was a lawyer. I dealt with facts, with evidence, with documents. I couldn't let emotion take over. I needed absolute certainty before I did anything. I needed DNA, but how? How was I going to get Ethan's DNA without raising suspicion? I couldn't just walk up to him and say, "Hi, Ethan. I need a strand of your hair for a test. No big deal." He would think it was bizarre. He would tell Sophia. She would question me, and I couldn't tell her. Not yet. Not without certainty. Not without a plan. I thought about the possibilities. Ethan came over often. He used the bathroom. He left behind glasses, cutlery. There could be a hair on the chair where he sat. There could be saliva on his glass. I felt dirty thinking about it. Like a spy. Like an intruder. But I had to know. For God's sake, my daughter was about to marry him. If there was even the slightest chance my suspicion was correct, I needed proof. I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't. That night, I got home after 10. Robert was already in bed, watching television. "Tough case?" he asked when I entered the room. "Very," I replied. And it wasn't a lie. I took a shower, letting the cold water burn my skin. I wanted to feel something other than panic. I lay down next to Robert, and he put his arm around me. "You're tense," he said. "Want to talk? Tomorrow?" I lied. "I'm just tired." He kissed my forehead and went back to the news. I stared at the ceiling, the fan spinning slowly, casting dancing shadows. My mind was spinning faster than the blades. What if I was wrong? What if I was creating a problem where none existed? I would destroy my daughter's wedding over paranoia. She would never forgive me. Robert would never forgive me. I would never forgive myself. But what if I was right? What if I let the wedding happen? Sophia married to her own brother, living as husband and wife, maybe having children. Children who would be the product of incest. Children with an increased genetic risk of diseases. The thought made me nauseous. I ran to the bathroom. I threw up the dinner I had barely touched. Robert knocked on the door. "Kath, are you okay?" "Just a bug," I called back. "Must be something I ate." 3 days later, I got what I needed. Ethan came over for dinner. He went to the bathroom before he left. I waited until Robert and Sophia were distracted, talking in the living room. I went into the guest bathroom. I took the glass he had used during dinner. He'd left it by the sink where he washed his hands. I wrapped it in a paper towel with obsessive care. I put it in a plastic bag. I placed it inside my purse. My heart was beating so loudly I was sure they could hear it from the living room. My own DNA was easy. I collected a saliva sample at home with a sterile swab I bought at the pharmacy. I took the samples to a private lab in a different part of town, far from my neighborhood, where no one knew me. I paid in cash. I gave a fake name. I claimed it was for a private family investigation. The receptionist didn't question it much. "Results in 7 business days," she said mechanically. 7 days, 1 week, 168 hours to confirm whether my life was truly falling apart or if I was just having a breakdown. That week was torture. I couldn't sleep properly a single night. I lost 6 pounds. Robert commented that I looked pale. "Strange. You need to see a doctor, Kath. You're not well." I made an appointment with a general practitioner just to get him to stop insisting. The doctor said I had high blood pressure, elevated stress. She prescribed anti-anxiety medication. I took the prescription and threw it in the trash in the parking lot. I didn't want to numb the panic. I needed to be alert. I needed to be ready for whatever came next. On the 5th day, Sophia called me, excited. "Mom, we booked the caterer. It's final now. The wedding is going to be perfect." Her voice was overflowing with happiness. I forced enthusiasm. "That's wonderful, honey. Tell me everything." She talked for 20 minutes about the menu, the decor, the playlist. I murmured appropriate responses at the right times, but I barely registered the words. All I could think was, what if it's true? How am I going to tell you this? How am I going to destroy your happiness? How will you survive this? On the 7th day, the email arrived. Test results available for pickup. I left the office, inventing an urgent appointment. I drove to the lab with my hands sweating on the steering wheel. It was March, hot and humid, but I was shivering with cold. I parked. I took a deep breath. I went into the lab. The same receptionist from before handed me a sealed envelope. "If you have any questions, you can call," she said with a professional smile. I thanked her and left. I sat in the car. I looked at the envelope. Once I opened it, there was no going back. The knowledge could not be unknown. I tore the seal. I took out the paper. My eyes went straight to the final result, highlighted in bold, probability of maternity, 99.97%. Conclusion. The genetic link of maternity between the analyzed samples is not excluded. The words blurred. The paper fell into my lap. A scream was trapped in my throat. It was true. Ethan was my son. The baby I had given away 30 years ago was my daughter's fiancé. My 2 children were about to commit incest without knowing it. And only I had this information. Only I could stop it. But how? How was I going to tell them? Who would I tell first? What would I do? I picked up my phone with trembling hands. I looked for Dr. David Miller's contact. I needed to talk to him. He knew Ethan was adopted. He had access to the adoption records. Maybe he could help me. Maybe together we could find a way to resolve this without destroying everyone. I dialed. It rang 3 times. "Hello?" His deep voice answered. "Dr. Miller. This is Catherine, Sophia's mother." Catherine, how are you? I need to speak with you. In person. It's urgent. About Ethan." There was a pause. "About Ethan? Did something happen?" My voice failed me. "I discovered something. Something important. Please, can we talk today?" We arranged to meet at his office in Pinewood that afternoon. I arrived first. The waiting room was empty. It was already past 6. He received me with a worried expression. "Please, sit." "What happened? Is Ethan okay?" "He's fine," I replied. I took a deep breath. There was no gentle way to say it. "Dr. Miller, I discovered that Ethan is my biological son. The son I gave up for adoption in 1995. I expected shock. I expected surprise. I expected denial. But what I saw on his face was something completely different. It was recognition. It was guilt. It was confirmation. And then my world collapsed for the 3rd time in a week. "You already knew," I said, and it wasn't a question. It was an accusation. "You've always known, Doctor." Miller looked away. His hands, which had been crossed on the desk, separated. He ran one of them over his face in a weary gesture. The silence lasted for an eternity. Finally, he spoke, his voice low. "Helen found out about 15 years ago. She was always meticulous with documents. When she was organizing the adoption papers in a new safe, she noticed some coincidences. Your name appeared in another case she was following, with you as the lawyer. She saw your picture in a newspaper article about family law. She thought you looked familiar. She started to investigate quietly." My breath caught in my throat. "Investigate what?" My voice came out hoarse. He continued without looking me in the eye. "She hired a private investigator, discovered you were 17 in 1995, that you gave birth at St. Cecilia's that March, that the baby went up for adoption in the same process where we received Ethan." She put the pieces together. She cross-referenced old records, bribing clerks at the courthouse. When she was sure, she told me. I felt the floor disappear from under my feet. "And you never contacted me? Never told me? You knew for 15 years and said nothing?" He finally faced me. His eyes were red. "Catherine, try to understand. Ethan was our son. We've loved him since he was a baby. We were afraid you might want to, reclaim him legally, 'cause problems." Helen was terrified of that. "We decided not to stir things up, not to say anything, to anyone, not even to Ethan." Rage bubbled inside me like lava. "Not stir things up? Not stir things up? You let him fall in love with his own sister. Did you know who I was when Sophia brought him to meet our family for the first time? When they started dating?" He shook his head. "No. Helen had already passed away when they met. I only found out he was dating your daughter when the relationship was already serious, almost a year in. When he introduced you to me, I was shocked. I recognized you. Helen had kept newspaper clippings, photos of you. I knew exactly who you were." My voice rose an octave. "And you did nothing. You said nothing. You let the relationship continue? You let them get engaged? I didn't know what to do." He exploded, slamming his hand on the desk. "How was I supposed to tell Ethan? How was I going to explain that we had investigated his biological mother behind his back? That we had hidden it from him for 15 years? That now, just when he was happy, engaged, building a future, he had to give it all up because his fiancée is his sister? Do you think that's easy? You, who also hid this from him his entire life?" The accusation hit me like a slap. I was 17. I was raped. I gave my son up for adoption because I had no choice, not because I wanted to, And you're comparing me to a conscious 15-year conspiracy? He backed down. He took a deep breath. When he spoke again, his voice had returned to its controlled physician's tone. Catherine, I understand your pain. I understand the situation. But there is no good solution here. If we tell them now, we destroy Ethan's life, Sophia's, everyone's. They love each other. They're adults. They'll never have biological children if they know the truth. We could just not tell them. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not tell them? Are you suggesting I let my daughter marry her own brother? He got up, went to the window. He stood with his back to me. He's her half-brother. They didn't grow up together. They don't know. The psychological damage of finding out would be greater than just moving on. Catherine, think about it. You're going to destroy the happiness of two people over a truth that doesn't need to come out. I left that office in a state of shock. I got in the car and screamed. I screamed until my throat was raw, until I had no air left. How could that man suggest such a thing? How could he think hiding it was the solution? But as I drove home through the chaotic rush hour traffic, a part of me, the selfish part, the scared part, whispered, what if he's right? What if telling them is worse? You'll lose your daughter either way. She will hate you for revealing this. Robert will hate you for hiding the assault all these years. Ethan will feel betrayed. The entire family will implode. Is that what you want? I didn't sleep that night. I stayed in the dark living room, sitting on the sofa, hugging a cushion. Robert woke up at 3 a.m. and found me there. Kath, what's going on? You're scaring me. I looked at my husband of almost 3 decades, the man who shared his life with me, who raised Sophia as his daughter, who deserved the truth, but I couldn't. Not yet. It's work. I lied. A very complicated case. I'm trying to find a legal solution and there isn't one. He sat next to me, put his arm around me. You always find one. You're the most competent lawyer I know. You'll solve it. If only he knew it wasn't a client's case. It was our own family's. In the following days, I tried other approaches. I researched whether there was a legal way to cancel a marriage due to kinship without revealing identities. There wasn't. I consulted a trusted colleague, hypothetically. I have a case, I said. 2 siblings who don't know their siblings are getting married. Can I stop it without revealing the reason? He frowned. Catherine, you have to reveal it. It's an absolute impediment to marriage. State law is clear. Siblings cannot marry. If you know about it and don't stop it, you're being negligent. But the revelation will destroy the people involved, and the marriage will be null and void anyway. If they find out later, it will be worse. I tried talking to Dr. Miller again. He didn't answer my calls. I sent messages. He only replied, I've told you my position. I won't help you with this. Leave my son alone. I went to his house. He didn't open the door. I shouted from the gate, Are you going to let this happen? Are you going to carry this guilt? Neighbors looked out their windows. He remained hidden. I felt ridiculous. Desperate. Alone. I thought about telling Ethan directly. I rehearsed it 1,000 times. Ethan, I need to tell you something. You are my biological son. How would he react? 6 weeks to the wedding. Invitations sent. Commitments made. He would think I was crazy. He would ask for proof. I would show him the DNA test. He would confront his father. Dr. Miller would deny it. Say I forged the results. It would be my word against his. And who would Ethan believe? The mother-in-law he barely knows, or the father who raised him? I tried to postpone the wedding indirectly. I called Sophia. Honey, don't you think you're moving too fast? You're both young, you have time. Why not wait another year? She laughed. Mom, we've been together for 4 years. This isn't fast. Are you having second thoughts? No, it's not that. Because if you are, you need to tell me. You like Ethan, don't you? Of course I do, but then what's the problem? Mom, you've been acting strange lately. What's going on? I backed down. Nothing. Forget it. Just a mom thing. Ignore me. But Sophia didn't ignore it. She told Ethan. He mentioned it to Robert. Robert confronted me the next day. Sophia said you suggested postponing the wedding. Why? Is there a problem with Ethan that I don't know about? There's no problem. Then why suggest it? Kath, talk to me. You've been strange for weeks. Losing weight, not sleeping. Something is wrong. Is it your health? Is it work? Is it us? His questions were like punches to the gut. Robert, I swear it's nothing. I'm just stressed, but he didn't believe me. In the following days, I realized he and Sophia were talking about me behind my back. I overheard fragments of his phone calls. I don't know what's gotten into her. Maybe it's menopause. Could be depression. I was furious and hurt. They were pathologizing me, turning my legitimate despair into a crazy middle-aged woman issue. 4 weeks before the wedding, I lost control. It was at a Sunday lunch at my house. Ethan, Sophia, Robert, a few other family members, everyone laughing, talking about the final preparations. Ethan told an anecdote about their planned honeymoon. Sophia kissed him. I saw that kiss and felt physically ill. I stood up abruptly. "I need to talk to you," I said to Sophia, too loudly. The entire table went silent. "Now." "In private." Robert frowned. "Kath, can it wait?" "No, it can't." Sophia followed me to my bedroom, confused. I closed the door. I faced my daughter. "You can't marry him." She blinked. "What?" "You can't marry Ethan. You can't." "Mom, what are you talking about?" "I can't explain right now, but you need to trust me. Cancel this wedding." Sophia took 2 steps back. "Have you lost your mind? What is this?" "I'm serious. There's something you don't know. Something serious." "Then tell me." "I can't. Not yet. But you have to believe me." She looked at me as if I were a stranger. "Are you having a breakdown? What the hell is going on?" I tried to touch her. She flinched away. "Sophia, please, no. Don't touch me. You're trying to sabotage my wedding and you don't even have the courage to tell me why? What kind of mother does that?" Her voice rose. "Are you jealous? Is that it? You can't stand to see me happy? You can't stand to lose your daughter? It's not that. Then what is it?" I opened my mouth. I closed it. I couldn't. I didn't have the courage yet. Sophia stormed out of the room. She went back to the living room. I followed her. She grabbed her purse. "We're leaving, Ethan." He stood up, confused. Did something happen? My mother happened. She shot me a look of pure hatred. "I don't know what your problem is, but you need to solve it. Alone. Don't contact me until you're back to normal." They left. Robert stared at me, dumbfounded. "What did you say to her?" "The truth." "What truth?" "The truth that no one wants to hear." From that Sunday on, Sophia blocked me. She didn't answer my calls, didn't reply to my messages. Robert was torn between us. "I need to know what's going on, Catherine. Now. No more games." I sat down with him that night. I told him half of it. I gave a son up for adoption when I was 17. I was raped. I got pregnant. I gave the baby away. I never told anyone. He turned pale. "My God, Kath, why did you never tell me?" "Because it hurts too much. Because it's in the past. Because I thought it didn't matter." "And what does this have to do with Sophia's wedding?" Here I froze. "It has everything to do with it, but I can't explain yet." "Why not?" "Because you won't believe me. No one will." Robert was silent for a long time. Finally he said, "You need professional help. I think this trauma from your past is affecting you now. You're projecting. You're seeing problems where there are none. Once again, pathologized. Once again, disbelieved." "I'm not crazy. I didn't say you were. I said you need help, to go to therapy, to process this." He tried to hug me. I pulled away. "You think I'm losing my mind too. I think you're suffering. And you're refusing help." I slept in the guest room that night. 2 weeks before the wedding, everything fell apart for good. I received a legal notice. Dr. David Miller was suing me for defamation, slander, and harassment. He claimed I was stalking his family, making baseless accusations about his son, and trying to sabotage the wedding for unclear psychological reasons. He attached screenshots of messages I'd sent, recordings of me shouting at his gate, and witness statements from neighbors. He was seeking $200,000 in damages and a restraining order to keep me away from Ethan. My partner at the firm called me into her office. She placed the notice on her desk. "Catherine, what the hell is this? Are you being sued by a client?" "He's not a client. He's the father of Sophia's fiancé." She took off her glasses, massaging the bridge of her nose. "You're harassing your future son-in-law's family? Explain this to me." I tried to explain. It sounded crazy even to my own ears. There's a complex family situation. There are things I've discovered. I can't reveal the details. You can't or you won't. Both, she sighed. "Catherine, you're a founding partner here. Your name is on the door. But this is serious. A lawsuit against a lawyer at our firm is terrible for our reputation. I need you to resolve this, quickly. I'm trying to resolve it. It doesn't look like it. And there's more. 2 clients have asked to switch lawyers this week. They said you're distracted, not responding to emails, missing meetings. It was true. I could barely work. My mind was consumed 24 hours a day with the situation. Give me some time, please." just until after the wedding. She looked at me with a mix of pity and frustration. "Catherine, you need to take a step back. Officially, a medical leave. You're not well." The humiliation burned. "You're putting me on leave? I'm protecting you. And the firm. Take 30 days. Get your life in order. Take care of your mental health. Come back when you're ready." It wasn't a request. It was an order. I left that room feeling the ground disappear beneath me. 30 years of my career, my name respected in the courthouse. Awards, recognition, hundreds of successful cases. And now I was being sidelined like a problem attorney who couldn't separate her personal and professional life. That night, Robert asked for a divorce. Not in those exact words, but that's what it meant. He sat with me in the living room. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Catherine, I love you. I've loved you for 30 years. But I don't recognize the woman I married anymore. You're destroying our family. You're pushing our daughter away. You're creating problems where none exist. You need professional help, and you're refusing to seek it. I don't need a psychiatrist. I need you all to listen to me. We are listening, but you're not saying anything that makes sense." He stood up, went to the window. He stood with his back to me. "I'm going to stay at the apartment near the construction site for a while. I need some distance. You need to decide if you're going to get help or if you're going to continue this spiral. When you decide, call me." "Robert, don't do this." My voice failed. "I'm doing this because I love you, because I can't stand to watch you destroy yourself and destroy me along with you." He went upstairs, grabbed a pre-packed bag. He had planned this, came down, and left. I heard the car leaving the garage, the gate closing, silence. I was alone in that big empty house, the house we bought when Sophia was 5, the house full of memories, of photos on the walls, of laughter at birthdays, Christmases, family Sundays. Now, only silence and darkness. I walked through the rooms like a ghost. Sophia's room, still with posters from her teenage years. The bathroom where I bathed her as a baby. The kitchen where we had breakfast together for decades. Everything seemed like a museum of a life that no longer existed. I sat on the living room floor. I leaned against the cold wall, and finally, I allowed myself to completely break down. I cried like I hadn't cried since I was 17. When they took my baby away, I cried with sobs that tore at my chest, that took my breath away, that hurt physically. I cried for the baby I never knew. I cried for the 17-year-old girl who was violated and never got justice. I cried for the daughter who hated me, for the husband who abandoned me, for the career that was destroyed, for the life that was shattered. I cried until I had no tears left, only dry, desperate sounds. I thought, for the first time in decades, about not existing anymore. It would be easier for everyone. Sophia would marry happily, without a problematic mother in the way. Robert would move on with his life without the weight of a disturbed wife. The firm would function without a complicated partner. Ethan would never know the truth. Everyone would move on, except me. But I wouldn't be here to feel the pain. I looked towards the kitchen. Pills in the cabinet. It would be quick. It would be the end of the agony. I stood up. I walked over there. I opened the cabinet. I took the bottle of blood pressure medication. I looked at the little white pills. How many would be enough? 20? 30? I put a few in my hand. I closed my fingers. I felt their shape against my palm. It would be so easy, so final, to end this unending pain, this hopeless despair. But then my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer. At the last second, I did. "Hello?" A woman's voice. Older. "Catherine Hayes?" "Yes." "Who's speaking?" "My name is Sister Agnes. I'm a retired nun. I worked at St. Cecilia's Hospital in the 90s. I was visiting the Miller family today. I'm an old friend. Dr. Miller mentioned your name. He said you were making crazy accusations about Ethan's adoption. The name sounded familiar. I looked through my old records. Catherine. I was there the day you gave birth." My heart stopped. The pills fell from my hand, scattering across the kitchen floor. "What?" "I remember you. A small, thin, scared girl. You were crying. You begged to see the baby. They wouldn't let you. The adoptive family was already waiting. It was all very fast. Very cold. I never forgot. That day marked me. It was one of the reasons I left that job later on." My voice was a thread. "Why are you calling me?" "Because when Dr. Miller said your name today, he said it with anger. He said you were lying, inventing that you were Ethan's biological mother to cause trouble. But he was too nervous, too defensive, and I saw his eyes. I saw guilt. Catherine, I think you're telling the truth, and I think he knows it. Always has. Something inside me reignited, a tiny spark amidst the ashes. Sister, would you remember details? Could you testify? I can. I kept diaries from that time. Personal notes, not official, but I have them. Dates, times, procedures. If you need it, I can help. Tears returned, but they were different. Not of despair, of something I had forgotten existed. Hope. Please, I need help. I need to prove I'm not crazy. You're not. I believe you. Those 4 words. Simple, coming from a stranger who owed me nothing. They broke and rebuilt something inside me simultaneously. Someone believed. Someone saw the truth. I wasn't alone. I wasn't crazy. When can we meet? Tomorrow, if you like. I'll give you my address. I thanked her, my voice thick with emotion. I hung up. I looked at the pills scattered on the floor. I picked them up one by one and threw them in the trash. That night, something changed. The pain was still there. The despair was still there, but there was a spark of something else mixed in. Anger, determination, a cold clarity. If no one would listen to me willingly, I would make them listen. If no one would stop that wedding, I would. Alone if I had to. Even if they hated me. Even if they destroyed me. My daughter was not going to commit incest. Not while I was alive. And I had 11 days to stop it. Tell me in the comments which city you're watching from. I read them all, and reply with love, and leave a like if you're feeling this with me. I met Sister Agnes the next day, in a simple house in a quiet suburb. She welcomed me with tea and cookies, as if we were old friends. She had white hair tied in a bun, deep wrinkles around kind eyes. Sit down, child. You look exhausted. I sat. I accepted the tea even though I had no desire to drink. She placed an old notebook on the table. Worn leather cover, yellowed pages. My diaries from when I worked at the hospital. I wrote about the cases that affected me. You're in here. She opened to a page marked with a ribbon. Date, March 23rd, 1995. I read her notes. Girl CH, 17 years old, natural birth, healthy baby, 7 lbs. Adoptive family, Miller, waiting. Expedited procedure. Biological mother in state of shock. Asked to see the baby. Denied by social worker. Girl cried for 2 hours after delivery. No one comforted her. The situation left me very disturbed. This system is cruel. My tears fell onto the old pages. I remember that. I begged. No one listened to me. I heard you, but I had no power to change anything. I was just an auxiliary nun. I followed orders. She held my hand with a surprising strength for her age, but now I have the power to testify. If you need me to, I will go to court. I will say what I saw. I will prove you were there, that you gave birth that day, that the baby was given to the Millers. It connects the dots. Something inside me crystallized. Sister, the wedding is in 11 days. The legal system won't act in time. Injunctions, hearings. It all takes too long. I don't have time for a formal process. I need another way. What way? I took a deep breath. It was in that exact moment that the decision formed, solid and irreversible. I'm going to expose everything, publicly, 3 days before the wedding. I'll send the DNA results, your diaries, the adoption documents, everything, to everyone involved. Family, guests, the church. I'll make it impossible for the wedding to happen. Sister Agnes looked at me for a long time. They will hate you. Your daughter will hate you. She already does. At least she'll be safe. She'll be alive and sane, even if she hates me. And can you bear that? To be seen as the villain when you're saving her? I thought about the question. I thought about all the humiliations of the past few weeks, the way they treated me. Crazy, unstable, jealous, problematic. I thought about how no one listened, how no one believed, how I was pathologized, medicated, sidelined, abandoned. And I thought of my daughter, innocent, about to make an irreversible mistake that would destroy her life. Yes, I can bear it, because being the villain who saves is better than being the good person who watches a tragedy unfold. Sister Agnes nodded. Then may God give you strength. She made a notarized copy of her diary. She gave me documents she had kept about the hospital, procedures from that time. Use everything. Do what you have to do. I thanked her and left there a different person than when I had arrived. I was no longer the desperate woman begging to be heard. I was the lawyer who would build an irrefutable case. I was the mother who would protect her daughter, no matter the cost. I was the villain the situation demanded. In the following days, I worked like I hadn't worked in years. I put together a complete dossier. I organized a timeline. My assault in December 1994, the hidden pregnancy, the birth in March 1995, the baby's adoption by the Miller family. I attached the DNA test with 99.97% compatibility. I attached a notarized copy of Sister Agnes's diary. I attached documents from the adoption process that I obtained through contacts in the judiciary. Not entirely legal, but necessary. I attached comparative photos. Me at 17. Ethan now. My deceased father. The resemblances were undeniable when you were looking for them. I wrote an explanatory letter. Nothing emotional, nothing dramatic, just facts. To the family and guests of the wedding of Sophia Hayes and Ethan Scott, it is with profound sorrow, but an absolute sense of responsibility, that I must inform you of the impossibility of this marriage proceeding. Through a DNA test, attached, I have proven to be the biological mother of Ethan Scott, born on 03/23/1995, and given up for adoption. Documentation attached. Sophia Hayes is my biological daughter, born on 11/12/1996. Ethan and Sophia are therefore half-siblings. State law, Garv XXX, establishes a matrimonial impediment between siblings. This marriage would be null and void. I ask that you understand the gravity and necessity of this revelation. Sincerely, Catherine Hayes, Escorn. State bar no. XXXX. Legal coldness. No emotion. No justification for the delay in revealing. Just facts, laws, evidence. Impossible to ignore. Impossible to deny. I created a list of recipients. Sophia, Ethan, Robert, Dr. Miller, the wedding party, the couple's best friends, close aunts and uncles, cousins. 23 people in total. A number sufficient for the information to spread quickly and make it impossible for the wedding to proceed, even if they wanted to. I scheduled the emails to be sent simultaneously at 3 a.m. on a Friday, exactly 3 days before the wedding scheduled for Sunday. I chose 3 a.m. because most people check their phones upon waking. Friday because it would still allow time to cancel everything before Sunday, but not so much time that it would allow for a conspiracy to hide it. 3 days. The civilized minimum and the strategic maximum. But there was another layer. I needed to protect myself legally. Dr. Miller had already sued me. With this revelation, he would intensify his attacks. He would claim invasion of privacy, leaking of protected adoption data, defamation. I needed to anticipate this. I wrote a petition to file simultaneously with the sending of the emails, a request for a judicial declaration of matrimonial impediment, with all the evidence attached. That way, it wouldn't just be the crazy mother-in-law making accusations. It would be an attorney fulfilling her legal duty to inform the judiciary of a matrimonial impediment. It transformed a personal act into a professional one. I mentally rehearsed the consequences. Sophia would hate me. She already did, so that wouldn't change much. Robert would probably file for divorce officially. He had already left, only the paperwork was missing. Dr. Ann Miller would intensify his lawsuit. I was already being sued. Ethan would be in shock, probably hate me too. I had never had a real relationship with him anyway, so I wouldn't be losing much. I would lose the respect of the legal community. I had already been put on leave from the firm. I would lose friends. Most had already distanced themselves due to my recent strangeness. What would I have left? Materially, the house, some savings, a likely separation from the firm. Emotionally, absolute solitude, but morally, a clear conscience. And most importantly, my daughter saved from a tragedy. My daughter protected, even if she hated me. It was a fair trade. I would survive the loneliness. I had survived it before. From 17 to 29, I lived practically alone, estranged from my family of origin, building a life from scratch. I could do it again. At 58, it would be harder, but possible. I tested every element of the plan. I checked that the attachments would open correctly in the emails. I confirmed that the petition was perfectly formatted for electronic filing. I reviewed the letter 1,000 times, looking for loopholes, ambiguities, points of attack. I found none. It was solid, uncontestable, brutal in its simplicity. I created backups of everything on 3 different flash drives and stored them in separate locations. If they tried to destroy the evidence, they would have to destroy me first. The night before sending, Wednesday, I slept for the first time in weeks. A deep, dreamless sleep. I woke up on Thursday with a mental clarity I hadn't felt in a long time. I had coffee calmly. I took care of the final details. I confirmed the email schedule was active. I confirmed the petition would be filed automatically at 6 in the morning on Friday, 3 hours after the emails. Everything synchronized. Everything inevitable. On Thursday evening, the eve of D-Day, I sat on the living room sofa with a glass of wine. I looked at old photos of Sophia as a baby, Sophia as a child, Sophia as a teenager, Sophia as an adult, smiling next to Ethan. I allowed myself to feel the pain, the impending loss, because I knew, even in saving her, I would lose her, maybe forever. But mothers do that. Mothers sacrifice themselves. I couldn't be a mother to Ethan. I was robbed of that, but I would be a mother to Sophia until the end. Even if she never understood. Even if she hated me forever, I would protect her. That's what mothers do. Midnight, I went to bed. I set my alarm for 3:15 a.m. I wanted to be awake when the emails were sent. I wanted to witness the moment the bomb exploded. The moment I would cease to be Catherine, the mother, and become Catherine, the villain. The moment I would save my daughter by destroying my life. I closed my eyes, for the last time as the person I was. Tomorrow, I would be someone else, forever. 3:15 a.m., Friday. The alarm went off. I was already awake. Sitting up in bed, laptop on my lap, the screen illuminating my face in the darkness. 3:02, 3:03, 3:04. I took a deep breath. The scheduled emails page showed a countdown. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7. My hand hovered over the mouse. There was still time to cancel, to back down, to choose silence. 6, 5, 4. I thought of Sophia. 3, 2, 1. The emails were sent. 23 simultaneous notifications slicing through the dawn. I closed the laptop. I placed it on the nightstand. I lay down. I stared at the dark ceiling. It was done. There was no going back. In a few hours, 23 people would wake up, pick up their phones, and see an email from me with the subject, "Urgent, proven matrimonial impediment." They would open it. They would read it. They would see the attachments, the DNA test, the adoption documents, Sister Agnes's diary, the comparative photos, the cold, technical letter explaining the legal impossibility of the marriage, and their worlds would implode, just as mine had imploded weeks ago. I couldn't go back to sleep. I lay there, waiting for the sunrise. A gray light began to filter through the window at 5:30. I got up. I made strong coffee. I sat in the kitchen with the steaming mug between my hands. 6 in the morning. The petition would be automatically filed now. I refreshed the court system on my laptop. There it was. Petition for matrimonial impediment. Catherine Hayes Eskimir. Filed at 06:01 a.m. A public record. Anyone could access it. Another layer of inevitability. 6:20, the first phone call. Robert. I didn't answer. He called again. And again. 7 calls in 10 minutes. Messages started pouring in. "Catherine, what the hell is this? Have you completely lost your mind? Call me now." I didn't reply. I temporarily blocked him. I couldn't get distracted. 7 o'clock. A call from Sophia. I hesitated. I answered. "Mom, you... Her voice was broken. She had been crying. "Are you saying that Ethan is my... She couldn't finish. Sobs cut her off. My heart shattered. "Sophia, I'm so sorry. I tried other ways. No one listened to me." "That's a lie!" she screamed. "You're making this up. You forged the test. You're sick." "I'm not making it up. The test is real. I had it done at a certified lab. It has a tracking code. You can confirm directly with them. Why are you doing this to me?" Her scream was pure pain. "Because I love you. Because I can't let you make a mistake that would destroy your life. You're the one destroying my life." A heavy silence, her ragged breathing. Then, a low, dangerously calm voice. "I will never forgive you. Never. You're not my mother anymore. You died to me today." The line went dead. I stared at my phone. Tears streamed down my face, but I made no sound. A silent grief. A necessary pain. The price I chose to pay. 8 o'clock. A call from Dr. Miller. I answered. "You," his voice trembled with rage. "You had no right. Those documents are sealed. You violated judicial confidentiality. I will sue you until you lose your bar license. I will destroy you. Do what you want." I replied calmly. "But the wedding isn't happening. That's what mattered. You had no right." "I did. I'm his mother. I'm her mother. I had every right to prevent incest." He hung up. 2 minutes later, I received a notification. A new lawsuit against me, this time for breach of protected data. 9 o'clock. A call from a colleague. Catherine, what is this madness? The petition is in the system. Everyone at the courthouse is talking about it. Is it true? Every word. My God, are you okay? A pause. Was I? No. But I'm doing what has to be done. If you need anything at all, thank you. At least one person didn't immediately judge me. 1 out of hundreds. But it was something. Noon. Sister Agnes called. I see you filed. Are you holding up? I'm here. Still standing. Things will get worse before they get better. You know that, don't you? I know. Pray. Even if you don't believe, pray. I'll try. I didn't promise I would succeed. I hung up and looked out the window. A sunny day outside. People walking on the street. Cars passing by. The world kept spinning, indifferent to the private collapse of shattered families. 2 in the afternoon. A notification from the state bar. An ethics investigation opened against me for professional misconduct. Based on Dr. Miller's complaints, I would have to defend myself in a disciplinary hearing. Possible preventive suspension. Possible permanent loss of my license. I read the notice 3 times. I felt the weight of it, but I didn't flinch. I knew this was the price. 4 in the afternoon. An anonymous message on WhatsApp. You're a monster. You destroyed the lives of 2 innocent people because of your own unresolved trauma. I hope you pay dearly for this. I blocked the number. More messages came. Unknown numbers. Some insults. Some threats. They should have you committed. Crazy woman. Psychopath mother-in-law. The information had leaked beyond the immediate circle. Social media, probably. Someone had shared the story. I checked Instagram. I had been blocked by Sophia. Facebook, too. I looked up her profile anonymously. Last post, 3 hours ago. To our friends and family, the wedding is canceled for serious personal reasons. We ask for privacy at this difficult time. And no, it has nothing to do with Ethan and me. The problem comes from somewhere else. The comments. So sorry. You guys will get through this. We're here for you. No one knew the details yet. But they would. It was only a matter of time. 6 in the evening. A knock on the door. I opened it. Robert. He didn't wait for an invitation. He walked in. He looked different. Older. Tired. Is it true? He asked without preamble. The test, the documents, everything? Yes. So you were... He couldn't say the word. I was raped at 17. I got pregnant. I gave the baby up for adoption. I never told anyone, until I found out it was Ethan. Robert sat down on the sofa. He put his face in his hands. He stayed like that for long minutes. Finally, he spoke. His voice muffled. Why didn't you tell me before? 30 years ago? When we met? Because it was a dead past. Because it hurt too much. Because I thought it would never matter. And Sophia, she's your daughter in every way that matters. You raised her. You are her father. But biologically... Silence. Biologically, she's mine. Only mine. He raised his face. His eyes were red. So... He did the math in his head. You were pregnant when we met? No. Sophia came later, 4 years after the assault. He shook his head. Processing. Catherine, I don't know if I can do this. It's too much. Too many secrets. Decades of lies. They weren't lies. It was survival. It's a lie of omission. He stood up. I need time. A lot of time. I don't know if we can come back from this. He walked to the door. He stopped. Without turning around, he said, You did the right thing by stopping the wedding. But you did everything wrong before that. By not trusting me. By not letting me help you. He left. The door closed with a softness that hurt more than a slam. Night fell. I sat alone in the dark living room. The first move had been made. The bomb had exploded. The wedding would be canceled. But the cost was just beginning to reveal itself, and I knew that in the coming days, things would escalate, because secrets of this magnitude don't stay contained, and hurt people fight. Dr. Miller would fight. Sophia would fight. The system would fight. And I would have to fight back. Stronger, harder, until the end. Saturday morning, 2 days before the wedding that would no longer happen, I woke up to 15 missed calls, several from unknown numbers, one from the lawyer Dr. Miller had hired. She left a message. Ms. Hayes, this is Patricia Lowell, representing the Miller family. We need to speak urgently. My client is willing to negotiate an out-of-court resolution if you publicly retract your allegations and admit to suffering a psychotic break. Please return my call by noon. I deleted the message. There would be no retraction. There would be no negotiation. 2 hours later, a process server delivered a restraining order. Dr. Miller had obtained a temporary injunction prohibiting me from contacting Ethan or any member of the Miller family, under penalty of arrest for contempt. A minimum distance of 200 yards. I read the order carefully. I had expected this. I had prepared for it. I called the criminal defense attorney I had hired the day before. Did you see the order? Yes. Follow the protocol we discussed. Will do. The protocol was simple. A press conference. I would give my side of the story publicly, with evidence, before their narrative could solidify. I scheduled it for that afternoon, 4 o'clock, at a downtown hotel. I invited 3 media outlets, 2 online news portals, 1 local TV station. The subject: attorney clarifies controversial wedding cancellation due to consanguinity. I knew it would generate interest. Family drama, a high-profile lawyer involved. It was a story. 3:30 in the afternoon, I arrived at the hotel, a small conference room. 6 journalists were waiting, more than the 3 I had invited. The news had spread. I sat behind the table. I placed my dossier in front of me. I took a deep breath. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I'm here to clarify a situation that has generated speculation. 3 weeks ago, I discovered through a DNA test that I am the biological mother of Ethan Scott, my daughter Sophia's fiancé. I gave birth in 1995, at the age of 17, following an assault. I gave the baby up for adoption. I never knew the identity of the adoptive family until a recent estate case. The journalist scribbled furiously. Camera flashes went off. I continued. Upon discovering this, I attempted to resolve the matter privately. I spoke with Ethan's adoptive father. He admitted that his family had known about my identity as the biological mother for 15 years. They chose silence. When Ethan and Sophia began dating, his father did not intervene, despite knowing they were half-siblings. I tried to postpone the wedding discreetly. I was ignored, pathologized, and pushed away. When all other options were exhausted, I revealed the truth 3 days before the wedding to prevent incest. Hands shot up. Questions came simultaneously. Why did you wait so long to reveal this? I tried every other avenue first. No one would listen. The Miller family denies any prior knowledge. I have a witness who confirms otherwise. Sister Agnes, who was present at the birth in 1995. She spoke with Dr. Miller recently, and he demonstrated prior knowledge. Is your ex-husband filing for divorce? My personal matters are not relevant. The focus is the legal impediment to the marriage. Has your daughter forgiven you? A pause. The pain shot through me. No. My daughter hates me, but she is safe. That's what matters. The press conference lasted 40 minutes. I provided copies of the dossier to the press. The DNA report, excerpts from Sister Agnes's diary, the adoption documents, sensitive data redacted, the court petition. Everything documented, everything verifiable. You can confirm the authenticity directly with the lab and the county clerk's office, I concluded. There is no forgery. There is no fabrication. Only an inconvenient truth that no one wanted to face. I stood up, thanked them, and left. The flashes followed me to the elevator, 7 in the evening. The first online article. Attorney reveals she halted daughter's wedding after discovering fiancé was her biological son. The shares exploded, 1,000 in an hour, 5,000 in 2. The comments were divided. She did the right thing. This is like a soap opera. Those poor kids. The Groom's family knew. That's horrific. The narrative began to shift. I was no longer the crazy mother-in-law. I was the mother who discovered a devastating secret and tried to protect her daughter. 9 in the evening, Dr. Miller gave a rebuttal interview. We knew nothing. This woman is inventing things to justify her erratic behavior. There is no proof of our prior knowledge, but it was too late. Sister Agnes had already given an interview to another portal, confirming my version. I visited the family weeks ago. Dr. Miller was far too nervous when I mentioned Catherine's name. An innocent man does not react that way. The independent religious witness, with no stake in the dispute, gave me credibility I couldn't have achieved alone. Midnight. The phone rang. A private number. I answered. Catherine, a young male voice. Ethan, my son. The first time we had spoken since the revelation. Ethan. A long silence. Then, is it true? Are you really my... His voice broke. I am. I'm so sorry you found out this way. Why didn't you tell me sooner, when you realized? I tried. No one would listen. I would have listened. Would you? Or would you have thought I was making it up? Just like your father said. More silence, heavy breathing. I don't know what to feel. I'm angry. I'm confused. I'm destroyed. Sophia is destroyed. Our life is over. Your life was saved. Imagine finding out in 5 years, 10, after you had children, after a whole life built together. But we love each other. Love doesn't change biology. It doesn't change the law. You destroyed everything. I prevented a greater tragedy. He hung up. I stared at the phone. My son. 30 years after giving birth, I spoke to him for the first time, and he hated me, just like the daughter I raised. They both hated me. The price had been paid. Sunday, the day the wedding would have been. I woke up knowing that somewhere, an empty church was waiting for a bride and groom who would not arrive, catered food that no one would eat, flowers decorating a venue for a party that would not happen, 200 guests, receiving a cancellation message, dreams shattered, futures rewritten, and I, alone in my empty house, was responsible for it all, the consummate villain, but a necessary one. The circle had closed. There was no going back. There was no more denial. The truth was exposed, brutal and inescapable, and everyone would have to deal with it, including me. Monday, 4 days after the canceled wedding, a court hearing. Dr. Miller had managed to fast-track the case against me for breach of protected data. He wanted to see me lose everything publicly. We arrived at the courthouse at 9 in the morning. He, with his expensive lawyer, an impeccable suit, the posture of an indignant man. Me, with my criminal defense attorney, a sober outfit, a folder of documents. The courtroom was small, but the press had managed to get permission to attend. The case had become national news. We entered. The judge was already seated. Judge Sonia Marcus, in her 50s, a serious expression. She looked at both sides. Good morning. Before we begin, I must say that I have rarely seen a case so emotionally and legally complex. I will try to conduct this with the utmost impartiality. She banged the gavel. You may begin. Dr. Miller's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my client is a respected physician, a devoted father, who adopted a child 30 years ago and gave him a life of dignity and love. The defendant, Ms. Hayes, violated protected, sealed adoption data, exposed confidential information, and caused irreparable psychological damage to my client and his son. She claims she did this to prevent incest, but she is acting out of unresolved trauma and a desire to control her daughter. We ask for a conviction for breach of confidentiality, damages of $500,000, and the revocation of her professional license. My lawyer stood up. Your Honor, Ms. Hayes is the biological mother. She had a legal right to access information about the son she gave up for adoption. More importantly, she discovered an absolute matrimonial impediment under state law. She did not act on a whim. She acted out of legal and moral duty. Had she not revealed this, it would have been criminal negligence. The marriage would have been void. The consequences for both young people would have been devastating. She chose temporary pain to prevent a permanent tragedy. The judge asked for the documents. She analyzed the DNA test. She analyzed Sister Agnes's diary. She analyzed the adoption file. She was silent for long minutes. Finally, she spoke. The DNA test is legitimate. There is no doubt of the biological link. The question is, Dr. Miller, did you have prior knowledge that Ms. Hayes was your son's biological mother? He answered firmly, No, Your Honor. I found out when she began this campaign of harassment. My lawyer intervened. Your Honor, I have evidence to the contrary. He opened a folder. He took out an envelope. My heart raced. I didn't know about this evidence. He hadn't told me. This envelope was delivered to me by Ethan Miller personally last night. He found it in his deceased mother's safe. I looked into the gallery. Ethan was there, in the back. His eyes were red. He gave a slight nod. Something inside me tightened. The lawyer continued. It is a letter written by Helen Miller, Ethan's adoptive mother, dated 2018, 7 years ago. In it, Helen confesses to discovering the biological mother's identity in 2010 through a private investigation. She confesses to deciding to hide it from her son and, initially, her husband. But years later, when Ethan began dating Sophia, Helen was already terminally ill. She wrote this letter before she died 3 years ago and stored it in the safe with instructions for it to be opened only if a serious problem arises involving Ethan's origins. He handed the letter to the judge. Ethan opened the safe this weekend. He found this. Absolute silence in the courtroom. The judge read the letter. Her expression changed, from neutral to shocked, to indignant. She looked up. Dr. Miller, would you like to revise your testimony? He went pale. I didn't know about the letter, but you knew of its contents? He hesitated. It was fatal. Your Honor, my wife was confused at the end of her life. She was on strong medication. Answer the question. Did you know that Ms. Hayes was Ethan's biological mother? Seconds of silence. Then he broke. His shoulders slumped. His voice was low. I knew. Helen told me in 2010. We made a pact never to reveal it. We thought it was for the best. The judge slammed her hand on the bench. For the best? You knew your son was dating his half-sister and you did nothing? I was afraid of losing my son. Afraid he would hate me for investigating his biological mother. Afraid he would want to meet her and wouldn't want me anymore. His voice broke. It was a confession. It was a collapse. The judge continued. You allowed an incestuous relationship to proceed out of selfish fear, and when the biological mother tried to stop it, you sued her, slandered her, and tried to destroy her. That is morally repugnant. She turned to me. Ms. Hayes, you acted in a legally questionable manner by accessing protected data, but you acted in a morally correct and legally necessary way by preventing a void marriage. Considering the extreme circumstances, I absolve you of all charges. Dr. Miller, your lawsuit is dismissed. Furthermore, I will be referring your conduct to the State Medical Board for an ethics investigation. Dr. Miller stood up, staggering. No. My career. The judge was implacable. You should have thought of that before you prioritized your pride over your son's well-being. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel struck. The sound echoed in the silent room. I looked at Dr. Miller. He was destroyed. His lawyer was trying to calm him. Reporters were rushing out, typing on their phones. The news would be out in minutes. I left the courtroom. Ethan was waiting for me in the hallway. We stood face to face. My son, after 30 years. Thank you, he said, his voice hoarse. For what? For saving me. For saving Sophia. I didn't understand. I was blinded by anger. But when I found my mother's letter, when I read what she wrote, I realized you were trying to do the right thing. That my father knew and chose to lie. Tears streamed down his face. He raised me. I love him, but he was wrong. So wrong. I wanted to hug him. I didn't dare. Ethan, I'm so sorry. For everything. For giving you up for adoption. For you finding out like this. For destroying your wedding. You didn't destroy it. You stopped a mistake that would have truly destroyed us. He wiped his tears. I talked to Sophia yesterday. For a long time. We cried together. It's weird. I still love her. But now I know I can't. That it would be wrong. And she knows it too. It's going to hurt for a long time. But it's the right kind of pain. The kind that heals. Not the kind that sickens. Does she hate you? I asked about my daughter. He shook his head. Not anymore. She's confused, hurt, but she doesn't hate you. She read the letter too. She understood you had no choice. That her father, Robert, was the one who couldn't handle it. A pause. He's suffering a lot too. He found out Sophia wasn't his biological daughter during one of her outbursts. My blood ran cold. What? But she is his daughter. Biologically. Ethan blinked. She is? I thought. Sophia was born 4 years after the assault. She is Robert's biological daughter. She just got the information mixed up. I grabbed my phone. I called Robert. He answered on the third ring. Catherine, Robert, where did you hear that Sophia wasn't your biological daughter? Didn't you say? When you told me about the assault? No! Ethan was the one born from the assault. Sophia is yours. She has always been. Get a test if you don't believe me. Silence. Then, the sound of crying. A 62-year-old man, crying with relief. She's mine? Really mine? Yours. Completely. I would never lie about that. Catherine, my God, I've spent the whole week thinking I'd raised a daughter who wasn't mine. That my whole life was a lie. It isn't. You are Sophia's father in every way. Genetically, legally, emotionally. You always have been. More crying. I need to go to her. I need to see my daughter. Go. She needs you. She always has. He hung up. I looked at Ethan. A misunderstanding on top of a misunderstanding. This family is a mess. He gave a sad smile. But it's our family. And now, for the first time, it's an honest one. Later that day, I received a message from Sophia. The first since the cancellation. Mom, Dad told me, we need to talk. I'm not ready to forgive you. But I'm ready to listen. Can we meet tomorrow? I replied with trembling hands. Yes. Anytime. Anywhere. 3 p.m. at our house. I'll be with Dad. I'll be there. I sat on the sofa in the empty living room. I looked around. The house that had been silent for days. But tomorrow maybe it would start to have life again. It wouldn't be like before. It never would be. But it would be something. Some form of a new beginning. Some form of healing. The truth had won. The checkmate had been delivered. Dr. Miller exposed. His career at risk. His lies revealed. Ethan saved from a marriage that would have destroyed him. Sophia protected from an irreversible mistake. Robert discovering his daughter was his own, and I, the necessary villain, was finally being seen not as crazy, but as a mother who made an impossible choice. The price had been high, higher than I ever imagined, but looking back, I would do it all again. Exactly the same way. 3 p.m, Tuesday. I stopped in front of the house that had been mine for decades, the house where I raised Sophia, where I built a life with Robert, where I thought I had buried the past forever. I took a deep breath. I rang the doorbell. Robert opened it. He looked different, deep dark circles under his eyes, but his eyes were clearer. Come in. I entered. Sophia was sitting on the living room sofa, the same room where everything had started to fall apart weeks ago. She looked at me. She didn't smile, but she didn't look away either. I sat in the armchair across from her. Robert stood between us like a mediator. Mom, Sophia began, her voice controlled. I read everything. The letter from Ethan's mother, Sister Agnes's diary. I talked to Ethan, to Dad. I understand, intellectually, why you did what you did. A pause. But emotionally, it still hurts too much. My wedding is over. The man I love is my brother. My life has been turned upside down. And you knew all of this for weeks, and you didn't prepare me. I tried, I said softly. I tried in every way. No one would listen. You could have shouted louder. You could have forced me to listen. And would you have believed me? Without proof? Without context? Silence. She knew the answer. I don't know, she admitted. Maybe not. Robert placed a hand on her shoulder. Sophia, your mother did what mothers do. She protected you the only way she could. Was it horrible? Yes. But the alternative was worse. Sophia took a deep breath. I need time. A lot of time. I need to process that Ethan is my brother. That my mother was assaulted. That his family lied for years. That the life I had planned no longer exists. I can't forgive you right now. I don't know if I ever will. But she looked me in the eyes for the first time. But I understand. And that's something. It was. It was more than I had hoped for. Thank you, I whispered, for giving me that chance. I left there with a different kind of weight. No longer the weight of the secret, but the weight of the consequences. The weight of the choices. What did I lose in this story? I lost my marriage. Robert filed for an amicable but final separation. I lost my daughter temporarily, perhaps permanently. I lost my son before I ever really had him. I lost the respect of colleagues, friends, an entire community. I was pushed out of my firm, eventually resigning. The lawsuits against me continue. Even with the main acquittal, my reputation is stained forever. Some see me as a hero. Most see me as a villain who blew up her family over unresolved trauma. What did I gain? A clear conscience. A daughter protected from an irreversible mistake. The truth exposed, however painful. And something unexpected. A connection with Ethan. Not as a mother. That place belongs to Helen, even though she was wrong. But as a presence. As someone who exists in his life now. He calls me sometimes. Short, awkward, but real conversations. How are you? And you? I had therapy today. Talked about all this. That's good. They are beginnings. Fragile, but they exist. Was it worth it? A question I ask myself every day. The answer is complex. Part of me screams, yes, I saved my daughter. Part of me mourns everything I lost. But if I could go back in time, would I do it all the same? Yes, without hesitation. Because that's what being a mother is. It's making the impossible choice. It's being hated to protect. It's sacrificing your own happiness for the safety of those you love, even when they don't thank you, even when they crucify you. This is my story. The story of the woman who was called a villain because she stopped her own daughter's wedding. But now you know the other side. You know the truth no one wanted to hear. You know the behind the scenes of the scandal. The desperate mother trying to save her daughter from a tragedy. The woman confronting a 3-decade-old trauma. The lawyer fighting against a system that protected a lie instead of the truth. I am not a hero, nor am I a monster. I am human. Did I make mistakes? Yes. Should I have told Robert about the assault decades ago? Probably. Should I have confronted Dr. Miller differently? Maybe. But I did the best I could with the tools I had. And in the end, I prevented incest. I saved 2 young people from a destroyed life. Does that count? To me, it counts more than anything. And you? Have you ever had your truth twisted? Been judged without anyone wanting to hear your side? Had to make an impossible choice where all options were bad and you chose the least worst? Have you ever been called crazy, controlling, or problematic when you were just trying to protect someone you love? Tell me in the comments. Your story matters. Your side matters. Every story has 2 versions, and sometimes the villain in their story is the hero in hers. Sometimes doing the right thing means being hated, and that's okay, because in the end, you know the truth, and that no one can take from you.